This is Respect the Vote with Anthony Coughlan, and Anthony, I'd like to thank you for your time. I'd like to ask you, the German Constitutional Court ruling recently, what impact does that have on us? And Germany being the biggest winners of the Lisbon Treaty, they're still not happy with Article 48 and Article 344 of the Lisbon Treaty. Should we be concerned about this Constitutional Court ruling?
Well, the German Constitutional Court basically said that Germany can ratify the Lisbon Treaty, so it cleared the way for ratification on certain conditions, that certain steps would not be taken under the treaty without the German Parliament being consulted, and they're changing their law to allow that. If we vote no, of course, the Czechs and Poles won't ratify it, and of course the British will have a government in a few months that won't ratify it either. They'll withdraw the British ratification. But I don't think the German Constitutional Court, well, it set out certain interesting points that might be used between the German court and the Court of Justice of the EU in the years to come. It doesn't really have much relevance to us, in my opinion.
Okay, and a lot of press out there at the moment for the yes side is saying that, you know, if we don't vote yes, we're going back to the 1950s, we'll be isolated from Europe, etc. I just wanted you to talk a little bit about what the scaremongering that's going on.
The truth is that if we vote no to Lisbon, we'll be cheered by the peoples of Europe all over the place, and by many powerful people too. The people who would be annoyed would be some of the political elites of Germany and France who get so much more power under the Lisbon Treaty because the whole voting system is put on a pure population size basis, whereby the Germans would have 20 times our weight in making EU laws rather than 4 times as at present, and the British, French and Italians would have 15 times our weight as against 4 times at present. So they'd be annoyed, and the Commission in Brussels would be annoyed because they get a lot more power. Lots of powers are passed over to Brussels by the treaty, and that gives the Commission more power, so they want more power. It's characteristic of all bureaucracies. But the ordinary citizens all over the place would cheer us. The French and Dutch rejected this treaty when it was put forward as an EU constitution, and we'd be doing the same thing. The British would certainly turn it down in a referendum under the incoming Conservative administration if that is held, or if that comes about in the next few months, which is very likely because there'll be a change of government in Britain. And we're still fully part of the Eurozone, fully supported by the European Central Bank, fully members of the European Union, as on the basis of the Treaty of Nice. We're just not going forward with this new treaty, Lisbon, which would increase Germany's vote, as I said, from 4 times to 20 times Ireland's, and halve our vote from 2 to less than 1%. That's madness. How does that put us at the heart of Europe? To have less than 1% of the vote under the Treaty of Lisbon is against 2 now. And double Germany's vote and increase it relative to Ireland by 20 times, from 4 to 20 times. So that's not in our interest. It's not good for our economy. It doesn't create jobs. The main person who probably lose a job if this treaty doesn't go through, as Declan Galley said, is Brian Cowan. But that's no reason for us to be bothered. We're fully members of the European Union, fully members of the Eurozone, and actually investment in Ireland increased last year, during the year after we voted no to Lisbon. So there's no necessary connection at all. This is scaremongering by the yes side, designed to try and frighten people and based on people's ignorance of what's in the treaty.
Okay, and one final thing, what's in it for our politicians who are telling us to vote yes? What are they going to gain from it themselves?
They'll get more power for themselves, because at national level, you see, politicians have to look over their shoulders to what the national parliament allows. But at the European level, these ministers become legislators, lawmakers for 500 million people. European Union laws are proposed by the 27 non-elected commissioners, but then they're made by the 27 members of the Council of Ministers. So at European level, if powers are transferred there, the Council of Ministers, a committee of 27 people, make laws for 500 million. And that is a huge accretion of personal power to the individuals concerned. As somebody says, it's much nicer to be running Europe than running Slovakia. And they like that. And then the European parties give them money, and they're tied into the European political parties. But there's lots of power for national parliaments, for the citizens who elect those parliaments, even though there's a gain in power for the ministers concerned at European Union level. Good.